Welcome to the Sportsfit Mum podcast, the place for expert knowledge and advice for your pregnancy and post-baby health and fitness journey. If we haven't met before, I'm Marnie, mum of two, health and fitness coach, international athlete and founder of the Sportsfit Mum community. Join us each and every week for lots of motivation and inspirational stories for you, the sport-playing, exercising, loving mum or mum. Hi everybody, welcome to the Sportsfit Mums podcast. This is episode 3 with a controversial topic: why I think labour is not like running a marathon. I see it posted on social media all the time. Giving birth is like running a marathon. You should train like you're going to run a marathon. It's really hard work. Make sure you're conditioned. I see it all on social media all the time. And actually, I 100% disagree. There are definitely elements related to a marathon that can be seen as similar to giving birth, but in this podcast, I'm going to tell you why I think my opinion is completely different and what type of event I think labour is, and my thoughts on how you can train for labour. Labour is like running a marathon. No, it's not. A marathon requires you to move your body in the same way, almost at the same pace for the entirety of the marathon. Yes, as you go through your marathon, the intensity will increase because you're fatiguing. Maybe towards the end of the marathon, you're going to pick up the pace. And yes, towards the end of the marathon, it's, ridiculously hard work running for that amount of time. But in my opinion, labour isn't like that. Yes, you need stamina, which you need in a marathon. Yes, it's exhausting on the whole body, which a marathon is. And yes, it's a mentally tough event. Yes, a marathon is a mentally tough event. But for me, the reality is that labour is actually a different type of event, and it's physically different to a marathon. So here's my thought. Labour, in my opinion, is an explosive event. It requires you to be in different positions. Labouring positions are really important. Ideally, you don't want to be laying on your back for your whole labour experience if you can help it. And I know that's what we see in the movies and the one born every minute, and we see that. But ideally, that's not a natural way to birth. We want to be in different positions. My biggest difference is I think that we endure different intensities throughout the labouring process. The intensity of your contractions, or if you practice hypnobirthing like I did, we call them surges. So I'm going to refer to them as surges throughout. Your surges at the beginning of your labour process to right when you're about to birth your baby are so different in intensities. And that's because it's your uterus that is squeezing to push your baby down and your cervix is opening. And in the earlier stages, it's the outer muscles of the uterus that is squeezing together for every surge. And towards the later phases, it's the inner muscles, which is much, much, much more intense feeling. And I think probably the biggest difference from the thought of running a marathon versus labouring is the different, what I call work to rest ratio. So the work is the surges and the rest is what you're doing in between. So in a marathon, you wouldn't run for a minute like a surge and then rest for 5 minutes. You just wouldn't do it because you have to run almost the whole time. Whereas thinking about labour as an explosive event with different positions, different intensities, and different work to rest ratios is going to mentally prepare you better. So there, I said it. Giving birth is not like running a marathon. You can agree with me, you can disagree with me. I would love to know. But this is actually what I think. I think giving birth is like training the way that CrossFitters train for a CrossFit Games. It's a series of CrossFit workouts throughout a day, okay? And your day is your labour, and your workout is your different intensities of your surges in different stages of your labour. Okay, so let me tell you what I think your body needs for your labouring process and why I talk a lot about in my free Ultimate Fitness in Pregnancy course. I talk a lot about training for labour, physically and mentally. And this is why. Your body needs you to move and hold different positions throughout your laboring process. Okay, so when you think about training for labor, you need to think about different full body compound movements that you do, different core system activations, and pelvic floor relaxation. You've got to think about doing those different things throughout your whole workouts. Okay, you need to think about giving short bursts of energy, which is a surge. It's a short burst of energy, and your surges at the beginning will be quite low intense, and towards the end they'll be high intense. Towards the beginning they might be short periods, towards the end they might be longer periods of effort. So you need to think about these surges as work or effort. Okay, and then in between it's rest. You're going to need to learn how to use your recovery time to mentally recharge and physically as well. During your workouts, when do you stop and have a drink? Okay, it's going to be the same during your labor. When are you going to rehydrate yourself? You're not going to feel like it. You're going to be out of breath. You're not going to want to talk. You're not going to do anything, but you need to hydrate. Okay? Are you going to refuel at any point during your laboring process? Do you do that throughout any of your workouts? Maybe practice. I don't know. I love bananas and I actually had a banana in my recent labor experience. And I think it was probably not long after I got into established labor, I found a period of time and I got a banana in. But I was used to doing that when I was training for labor. I would go through periods of time. I would go through some workouts where I would stop and I would consume a banana, quick energy release. But I was able to practice that, and I knew that when my body felt like a good time, it had enough work for me to be able to add that refueling in. And lastly, you really need to be aware of how long you are working for or going through your surges, okay, and then how long you're resting for. So it's your work to rest ratio. And you kind of need to be aware of that as you go through, because it mentally gives you time to recover. What are you doing in your recovery time? So that's my reasons for why I think labor is an explosive event versus like a series of CrossFit workouts versus running a marathon. So let me give you a quick example of what I think would be great for you to do during your pregnancy workouts, for you to have the mindset that you are training for labor. Okay, so first thing I think you need to think about is, by the way, I have a whole section of this in my free Ultimate Fitness in Pregnancy guide, as well as a bonus training for labor conditioning program. So do check that out if you haven't already. I'll put a link in the show notes. So here's a quick example for you, and I'm going to leave you on this one and then you can ponder. So when I'm doing a workout while I'm training for labor during my pregnancy journey, I am incorporating strength training either via weights, resistant bands, or body weight. I'm choosing full body compound movements and core system activation movements. So example would be a squat, some lunge, a deadlift, or a deadlift movement, activating the hamstrings, squats to get down and open up the hips. And I might be doing some hip torso flexion for the core. And I might also be doing some swings for hip thrust, some glute bridges for glute activation. And with those exercises, I am going to put them into different intensities. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm probably going to do a 1-to-2 work to rest ratio. So I'm probably going to work for 30 seconds and then I'm going to rest double the time. So I'm going to rest for a minute. And then after I do a few sets like that, and it doesn't have to be the same exercise, you can change your exercises. The next is I'm going to do a 1-to-1 work to rest ratio. I might work for 1 minute and recover for 1 minute. And then I'm going to do a 2-to-1. I'm going to work for 1 minute and I'm going to rest for 30 seconds. So I've got a 2-to-1 work to rest ratio. And every time I structure my workouts, I'm changing the intensities. And I don't have to go in that order, but I was trying to prove my point around intensities, because you're likely going to work for a short amount of time and rest for a long period of time at the beginning of your laboring process. And then you're likely going to be working for double the time that you're resting when you get to the later phases of your labouring process. But you can change the intensities. And the whole point of designing your workouts like that is that you are physically used to the work, the intensities and the recovery. You're mentally used to it, and you have a feeling about what your body is capable of. And you need to be confident in your body when you're giving birth. It's a natural process, but you have to believe that your body can do that, and you feel strong enough to be able to do that. So there's a really little example for you. Like I said, if you jump on and download the free Ultimate Fitness in Pregnancy Guide, I do have a labour conditioning program for you, which you then can use. Again, this has been quite a controversial topic. You may believe that labour or giving birth is like running a marathon, and that is great. Jump on the DMs on my Insta or comment and let me know what you think. And if you love the idea of labour, training for labour, and labour being like a series of CrossFit workouts, give me a thumbs up on that one as well. I hope this was useful. Looking forward to catching you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Sportsfit Mums podcast. It's awesome to have you along. If you would like to join our community, follow us on at Sportsfit Mums on Instagram. Alternatively, do check out the subscription notes, as you will see a link to our Ultimate Fitness in Pregnancy mini guide. From here, you'll also get some details of the up and coming release of the new strength and conditioning prehab program for your 4th trimester. So it's called 8 Weeks Out, and the idea is that we help you know exactly what you need to do to look after your body in those first 8 weeks post baby. So check out the details for that in up and coming episodes.